What happens when distress is at sea and the radio message is chaotic, unclear, or missing key information? During a sailing trip, my guest heard a Mayday call. Fire on board, panic, no location, no number of people. That was a wake-up call. VHF radio hasn't changed in decades, yet it's still the only lifeline at sea. So he asked himself, what if VHF, the walkie-talkie of the ocean, could finally get smart? My guest, Edouard Vallée, built Viata, an AI system that listens to VHF, transcribes messages in real time, understands accents and multiple languages, and reduces stress for radio operators, so decisions become faster, safer, and clearer. Born during an Ocean Hackathon, now developed directly with CROS, France Maritime Rescue Centers, Viata Dynamics is bringing AI into one of the most traditional sectors of the maritime world. Ready to hear how safety at sea is being transformed? Listen now on BlueTech Around the World.
BlueTech Around the World, the reference podcast for blue technologies and ocean innovation.
Welcome to BlueTech Around the World, the reference for blue technologies and ocean innovation, powered by Blue Connection. I'm your host, Marilou SUC, and I'm thrilled to welcome you to this new episode. In the maritime world, we often distinguish between safety, which is protecting lives, ships, and infrastructure from accident, for example, and security, which deals with intentional threats like piracy or terrorism, for example. Both are vital, and both are under growing pressure as maritime traffic increases, climate change intensifies, and geopolitical tension rise. And that's why innovation in maritime safety is more urgent than ever. And one team I've had the privilege to follow closely is Viata Dynamics. I first met them when I was coaching at the Ocean Hackathon in Toulon, where their project Vanessa not only won the local edition, but also the international final in 2023. Since then, they haven't stopped. Just recently, they won Octopus, the innovation competition led by Ifremer and its partners. Their project Vanessa aims to bring long overdue innovation to maritime safety by enhancing the very high frequency radio communication and navigation through artificial intelligence by reducing the cognitive load of radio operators, improving multilingual capabilities, and supporting real-time decision-making. It contributes to safer shipping lanes, international trade, and ultimately the protection of both people and the ocean. And as a friend once told me about Viata Dynamics, their ambition illustrates the noblest use of technology, saving lives and protecting our oceans. So to talk about this journey, I'm delighted to welcome Edouard Vallée, founder of Viata Dynamics, who brings over 13 years of experience in IT project management, fintech startups, and investment firms. His passion for AI and the maritime world is what drives this deep tech adventure. So hello, Edouard.
Hello, Marilou.
So let's dive into the future of safety at sea. So Edouard, can you tell us about your background and what inspired you to create Viata Dynamics?
Well, thank you for the introduction. It was well said. I like it. So to explain the project, I think I have to explain the story because everything starts from that moment. So it was a few years ago. I had the habit of going sailing with a group of friends in Croatia, and we got the habit of leaving the VHF, the radio on, as we are supposed to do when we are sailing, and we were listening to the message. And one day we had a terrible message on the radio. So it was a person that had a fire on the boat, and the message was very scary but confused also, because obviously in the moment the person didn't know what to do and what to say, and that person forgot to tell very important information, like how many people were on board and where was it exactly. So before he could finish, the message stopped. There was a silence, and a bit later, I think it was the Coast Guard that answered, that asked more questions and say like, okay, but you didn't say where you are, we cannot help, contact again, and nothing. And that made me realize at that moment that even though you're supposed to know what to say, it seems obvious. When something happens, you're never prepared. You are never ready to do it right. And I imagine myself in the situation. And to be honest, I would not do better. And I could not stop thinking about that event. Thankfully, that ended up well, because later that person called back on the radio and say, okay, we put out the fire and we are safe. But still, that stayed with me. And by chance, exactly the same day, there was a person responsible of an incubator in the south of France that called me to tell me about the Ocean Hackathon. It was the last day to register, and he forgot about me, and he say, oh, sorry, just register, it would be great, just do it because it ends today. So it's good, because at that moment I started thinking, and this is the moment we imagine Vanessa, the very first idea. It was obvious that we could do something and that really mattered to us. And so we imagine what we call at that time Vanessa, that we presented in the Ocean Hackathon. So I gather a group of friends, of developer and engineer, and we created this system that could run on a mobile phone, that could listen to the VHF radio, to what was going on, and already filter what was important and not important, and keeping track of what was being said. You know, I was shocked the first time I've been on a boat and trying the radio, how primitive it is. It looked like it stayed the same technology like 50 years ago, and like there is no connectivity, no computer, no internet, none of the software that we have today. And I'm passionate about software. It's obvious to me that it could be better, it could be much better. And it was a time where I was very into artificial intelligence, and I connected the dot. To me, it's the case here where we can leapfrog innovation, take something, a field that did not move for a very long time, and we can suddenly make it move to many technological innovation all at once. And that's what makes it very interesting. So Vanessa was keeping track, doing what we call a transcription, simply writing what was said. And with a bit of context, it could autonomously call for help on the radio. It could say exactly what is the boat, how many people, and with the GPS information, where you are. And that way, what we imagine is that could free you from having to be inside the boat to call on the radio and to actually deal with your problem. It can be man overboard, a fire, something that you need really to act immediately, and you cannot be at the radio at the same time. It's not possible, not practical.
Remember, I was present at the Ocean Hackathon. So for our listener who doesn't know what is it, a hackathon is like an innovation sprint. In just 48 hours, there are teams who test ideas, prototype, and pitch to experts. So it's really a unique way to pressure test an idea with mentors, user, and experts in real time. I remember they were like the French Navy who were present at the Toulon Hackathon edition. And I remember a lot of enthusiasm about your technology, and also the storytelling, what you just say about the genesis, about the idea of Vanessa. It's like a real life problem and issue that you were facing during your boat trip. And I think it's also something that is really important, because people can listen to you, feel that there is a real problem, and are more likely to be involved in the process. What was the experience like, and how does it shape the project? You said it was like the perfect timing when the person from the hackathon called you. So how this hackathon have an impact on the launch of this project?
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's the start of everything, because it was a moment where we were forced to be focused only on one thing. And I had the chance, a few friends that were very, very smart, very talented that came with me, and we were not distracted. And today that's very hard. That's very, very hard to be focused on one thing, to be all at the same place. So we have these habits of being remote. Everyone is remote. Everyone is somewhere. Being in the same place for 48 hours straight and just thinking and pitching an idea, a totally new idea. It was very, very important experience, very important event, and having the immediate feedback, because all this time you have a lot of people that are professionals, and you can pitch to them like all day and ask them what they think, and they really challenge you all the time. Like, oh no, okay, you think going in that the right direction, don't go there, it's going to be a problem, go more in that direction. And so you have this feedback loop nonstop, and maybe you do in 2 days what you could do in months maybe.
Thank you for your feedback. It seems like a real success story. I just want to come back on some point. You say something that I really like and I'm really convinced about, is the fact that you put new technology, new idea on a really traditional industry, which is the maritime industry. VHF radio, it's like of the walkie-talkie of the ocean. It's reliable, it works everywhere, but it also have a big challenges. People speak different languages with different accents. They are often in very stressful situation, as the one you told us about before. So what was the problem you really focused on when you decided to create the Vanessa project?
Yeah, I'm looking at details and the technology, because I'm fond of technology, and the practice of the professional, and many things. I had many observations already at the time. For example, they were professionals, so people that spend most of their years on the boat. And even after all their career sailing, they are still very at ease with the VHF, with talking on the radio. And it was very strange. And I see it repeatedly. It's a pain. They never like it. They avoid it. And sometimes when we were supposed to call on the radio, for example, you enter an area for anchorage and you're supposed to tell. And they just don't. They're like, oh, I don't want to do it. And obviously, after you're called by the guard, and they tell you to get out and do it again. So a lot of these things, people go really out of their way not to use the radio when it's the main communication system. When the safety is involved, of course, we need to talk. And when something happens, this is how we communicate. And of course, how old is the technology? Walkie-talkie. Basically, after some research, I've seen that there were some add-ons to put on the radio. They are super expensive. Also, that strike me. The price of this hardware, it's insane, and there are just few manufacturers that does it. And I think that they are profiting from how to say, an industry that didn't move. That sort of, you have these monopolies that are established, and these industries, they're not going to change. It's just like they are profiting from it, and there's no reason to disrupt, to improve the tech. And those are the very interesting situation. And if you look at the recent history of technology, take the mobile phone, for example, where it was the fastest adoption, it was in Africa. And it sounds crazy when you first hear it, because in Africa, they don't even have the line for the phone. They don't even have internet. How can they jump straight into having mobile phone with internet? Sounds crazy, but yes, it does. When a sector, when there is this situation, it doesn't move for a long time, it means it's ready to leapfrog, to jump many generation of technology at once. And I see this in the maritime sector, and it's very interesting. I noticed people in the maritime sector are very conservative. They're not really into new technology, except some people. Of course, there are some people. And the same is true for the people in tech. They know nothing about maritime. It doesn't even exist for them. You talk to the average developer in a big tech company, maritime, it's never in his mind, in his life. And so that's very, very interesting, because you can connect both worlds and create a lot of value. And this is the best place to be, to add value and to create interesting product and services.
Listening to you, I see we share a lot of things because when I entered in the maritime world, I was also passionate about innovation and new technology. And I was saying, oh my God, it's so traditional. If we put some digitalization here, automatization there, it could be awesome. So I can see what you are saying. And it's also something that I love to do, connecting these two different worlds like innovation, tech, and maritime, because I think there are so much opportunities. And I just want to come back on one thing you just say. I understand you say first there is the fact that people struggle, they don't want to communicate on the radio, but there is also the tech aspect of it. But why is communication such a critical factors for maritime safety? Like that, I can think about like the confusion that can lead to collision, grounding, and even environmental disasters. But can you give us some example to really see concretely what are the impacts and the application of that?
So yeah, to explain a bit the context, I will fast forward a little bit on my project because first we thought about a B2C market, like the sailor, the everyday sailor. And very early on, professional told us, don't try to go on the B2C, look at the B2B. Take the time to study the market, talk with the different industries, because those are much better market, better opportunities, and you don't have to spend on marketing, like to create a product and market. And so that's what I did for months, for a whole year. I've been talking to many maritime industry, and that was easier since the victory of the Ocean Hackathon because I was not nobody, so I could introduce myself easily. And one thing that most people told me is to talk with the CROSS. So CROSS in France, it's the Coast Guard, basically. They are the responsible for all the communication on the sea and make decision about the operation for safety, but also surveillance, piracy, pollution, all of these things. And this is with them that I learned the most on this topic on communication radio, because they are the professional of the maritime communication, and they are really in a crisis, because in the last 10 years, let's say, the face of the maritime leisure totally changed. Before, to go on the sea, it was more like a very niche hobby that often you learn generation after generation. Often your parents were into sailing and you learn from them. You were trained from young age, but that totally changed with technology, again, with the apps. Today, what you need to rent a boat is just an app. You download it, and in few clicks, you rented a boat somewhere and you can go on the sea. And so the reality today is the volume of people on the sea and the volume of accidents during the peak period, like holidays, like in the summer, it's impossible to manage. Basically, it have like increase every year, on and on and on, and it's a mess. You have people that call for help all the time for so many different reasons, and you have this huge volume of call, and it's very cumbersome. You still use the VHF radio, but not how you're supposed to do. You're supposed to respect. There is a code. It's a bit similar to aviation. You're supposed to tell who you are, who you're calling, what's your problem, and wait for an answer, and everyone talk one after the other. But now people just shout on the radio, and they also use the phone, because now you have mobile phone, the coverage have been extending, and so the Coast Guard have to switch between one another all the time, and they have a very, very limited personnel, and it's very, very difficult to manage. And this is where I see the first use of Vanessa, but we call it Vayata now. That's the new name. It's really go with the professional of communication, learn from them, learn all the pain points and how they work, and try to reimagine together how to work with new technology to handle this huge volume of calls for help, and also to do the rest, because in their mission, they are overloaded with the call for help, the safety. They cannot do their other missions because they have to watch for piracy, for illegal fishing, for pollution, all of these other things that they have to do, they can hardly do, because there is this emergency, this calling nonstop for accident. And thankfully, I met the right people, because the director of the CrossMed is very into technology, thankfully. And when I explained what I want to do, he understood immediately, and he agreed that, yes, we are at the point where we need really different technology to manage the problem. And so it's a choice for us at Viata Dynamics to tackle the hardest situation, the hardest problem. And from there, once you proved you can manage the hardest situation, we can trickle down to many other maritime areas that are maybe less immediate, less dangerous situation, because we will have a system that have been battle tested basically. And later we can move on even to the consumer, to the everyday sailor, and have a digital assistant on board that works very well.
Thank you, Edward. You just give us a masterclass of how to create a product, because you design it and co-develop it with your first customer and user, which was the crows, understanding their needs, their pain points, and doing strategic choice, B2B rather than B2C, and building this first product, and after, of course, having the opportunity to diversify and to develop to other kind of market who need this kind of technology. So thank you very much for that. I think it's really important to remind us again and again that we need to create products that answer the concrete need of the market. Now that we have seen the problem, can you now explain us in simple terms for the moment what Viana is and how it works, a little bit about the technology to really understand it?
Okay, so the very heart of the technology and what we are really working on right now, we won the last Octopus challenge, and we won a partnership with a research lab. So that's something we really have to do well, and we cannot use just the existing tools, AI tools that we have today on the market, because this is very, very specific. It's the transcription. It's going from a speech to a text. This technology is old, but the recent developments make it much more usable, make it much more precise. The problem, what I observe very early on, it's the model today on the market, they don't work on maritime communication. And the reason is simple, is what we said earlier. Maritime have been very conservative. It wasn't connected to the web. So the data from Maritime haven't been used by the giant tech corporation to train their model. And so you have these data that are everywhere that have never been used, and that we have to come and find and use and exploit to train this new generation of model specialized in that industry. So for it to work well. So that's a challenge, but that's totally doable. Back in the days when we did the Ocean Hackathon, we didn't have data, and that was a bit difficult. So instead, we use aviation data, because the sound, the noise is a bit similar. And so we could already train something that could somehow understand maritime communication. But now with the different partnerships we are building today with Cross and other, we have access to a mountain of data, like tons and tons of data. It's a lot. And so from that, we will have to train a different model. And the first one to do right will be the transcription. But then there are different type of models, smaller, that will be used for quick decision-making, classification, already from the type of noise we hear, already classify the type of call. There is a lot of information that is hidden in the raw signal, the raw communication that we could exploit. Thankfully, with Cross, we had years of professional doing some annotation of all the call they receive, writing notes and classifying what it is about. And so with the research team, now we have to make patterns between all these notes and the sound and the communication we hear to make automatic detection, classification. And so to tell you about the work, what is a Coast Guard doing? Basically, you have to imagine a big command center with people, like a call center, people receiving call all day. So very noisy environment, lot of information coming, and they have to take very rapid decision. And by spending time with them, I was shocked by the number of operation tasks they have to do that they should not do. Imagine in front of them, they have 8 computer screen with different window and information everywhere, maps, and they are writing with their keyboard what they are listening to and copy pasting between different software. And that make me cringe. All of this should not, it should not be like that. And I mean, they agreed, but it's just how the things evolved. Like they adopted those technology one by one, and they never had the time to rethink how to organize all this system. And now we would like to redo everything, but we can't. It's going to be too long. And so all the work is to find out the minimum viable product, like what is the smallest thing we can do that can deliver the maximum usefulness for them. And I think it will be around already doing the transcription and keeping track of the message so you can look back what was being said. There will be annotation, classification, and a sort of overview for the manager to see what is the team doing at any time. And so they don't have to stand up from the desk and come to talk and explain and come back. There will be an overview of everything that is going on. And already it's very simple, but it's very useful and it doesn't exist.
Amazing. And it's crazy what you just say at the beginning, that to train your model for the machine learning, you didn't have the data first because it was such a new industry for the tech giant. So hopefully you get this partnership with the crows that give you access to this kind of data. And the other thing is that, as you mentioned, okay, there is the communication transcription, which is really important, but there is also of this optimization of the process, how to make the right decision in a stressful environment. So it's really great that you had the opportunity to see how they are working, what were their challenges, like that you can really get this MVP to be sure that it answers their real need and is not too high tech, that it could be really implemented in their daily operation. And as you mentioned, you say at the beginning that there were other solutions that exist on the market, but sometimes they were like really expensive, or in this case, there are a lot of different solutions, but you need to aggregate them and it's a lot of tasks. Today, what makes your technology different from all the other existing solutions? And who are the kind of competitors you are dealing with?
So there are different kind of competitor. You can say a tech giant is a competitor because they are doing artificial intelligence, they train on data, they do models that are supposed to work in every situation and that in theory could work in your situation too. You could say that even the radio manufacturer, they are competitor because they are supposed to improve their tool, to add software that could do to automate things. You have competitors a bit like us that work more like a research lab that really work on transcription in niche industry and trying to make a product out of it. So many different types of competitors, but it's about, okay, deciding exactly what is your market, what is your product, and just convincing your customer, bringing value. And I think in AI, the real value is choosing a very specific industry and building tools close to the reality of the customer, of what they are experiencing. Too often I see this day, people are criticizing artificial intelligence because it's been rushed in many industry by big name like Microsoft, Copilot, and these kind of things as a general tools that's supposed to do everything and solve all the problem. And of course it doesn't, because it wasn't built for anything in particular. The people in company, the employees, they don't know what to do with it. And so I think it's, on the contrary, it's better to start from scratch and spend time with your customer and really identifying his precise pain point. And maybe it doesn't need AI, maybe it doesn't need LLM and all these new things. Maybe simple things can work. So I think the value is about being close to your industry, and I'm not worried about AI bubble. I think there is no bubble. Now is the time to build the real product, and it will take time, but there is an ocean of very useful products to build right now and for the years to come. So with lot of opportunities.
Yeah, you are totally right. Artificial intelligence is a big thing right now in the maritime industry and also specifically in the maritime safety specific sectors. I know, for example, there is some project for the real-time safety system for miscommunication between helmsmen and navigators. So when there is a difference of order with the platform. But as you mentioned, I think the most successful one will be the ones that really understand the work, the daily operation of the people. We will later use this technology and introduce them in their work and in their process. So I think it's the good way you are doing is building a technology for your market, not just saying, I'm an expert in AI, here is what you need to do. So the technology is actually impressive. So based on data and also observation of the people working with it, let's bring back to the human level what it would change actually for people at sea. We talk a lot about the cross on the transmission and how the reception of the information. Can you give us more insight on that?
I think from all the sailor I talked with in the last 2 years, it's unanimous that they want something like Viata. I think it's a common pain point. The technology didn't evolve for too long, and we really have to make it much simpler, much more reliable. The fact that if you miss something, you cannot hear it again, it's a bit crazy. It's obvious that we have to be able to look back on what was said and automate some part of the communication. So yes, I imagine when the technology is working well, that it will be mandatory to have this sort of pilot on the boat. I think the insurance will want you to have that, and you will maybe save on a premium that you pay if you're equipped with that. Same way that in a car, there are so many layers of security that became mandatory today, and the boat a bit missed, but I think it's like the car, it will bridge the gap for all these missing security features. And I imagine in the near future, boating will be safer.
It's great to have also this input from the insurance. Of course, having this tracking information or what's going on the boat is good for Coast Guard, of course, but also for shipper operators because it means quicker rescues for shipping companies, safer voyage, and fewer costly accidents. If I talk for the insurance part, and beyond safety, the broader impacts of this technology could be also protecting the ocean because 80% of the world trade travel by sea. And so safer communication means, of course, fewer accidents, less oil speeds, and of course, more resilient supply chain if I go on a business and on the environmental side. So I think there is also few further opportunities and further development on that.
Yes, sorry, you talk about something interesting, and now it's coming to mind. It's international maritime trade and ship industry. You have a lot of instabilities in the recent years, and what we notice in many of the attacks against the ships, piracy. Very often the pirates, the attacker, they also use the VHF to communicate between each other. It's just that they talk their language and we don't know what they are talking about. Something I talk about with some people. I imagine a system that could more carefully listen at any time to the pirates, because somehow they always say when they attack. It's just we don't understand exactly what they're talking about. And we see also this on land. Radio is still very used on land in Africa, and the same kind of things happen. I heard that you had some attacks, terrorist attacks, and they use radio, and they even say when they attack, but they use a dialect, and people don't understand the dialect, and we can't understand.
So you need to work on all the translation on all the different language on the next
Yeah,
version of Vieta.
it's a hard problem because it all stems from data. You need to have a lot of data that are very, very close. The best is the true data. You need real data annotated to be able to train. And if you don't have it, you can always generate it, do synthetic data, but it's also a bit of work. So there is a lot to do. It's one of the many examples of things to do with these new technology.
I can see that. And thank you for making the case not only on maritime safety, but also maritime security with the piracy. You opened the subject about the dual use challenges. You are specifically one of these technologies that could apply to both civil and military and defense aspects. One subject that comes most of the time with the subject is data security. When dealing with maritime safety, especially in defense contexts, data security is key. So, what are the main challenges you face on this front?
So yeah, of course, it's a very, very important topic that is becoming increasingly important as there are more data and more data to protect. So it really depends on who you're working with, the regulation in the country and the regulation in the specific industry. What is interesting, and one of the many reasons we choose to work with CROSS is because it's not a company, and so it's a public service that has a mission. And because it's a mission of public interest, they had some exception regarding the way they manage their own data. And they can legally, with a partnership with research, they can use the data they have for research, for innovation. So it's important. It's very interesting what you say. When we work with AI, we work with data. And we really have to choose carefully the industry we work with to have the best condition to start. It's like we will need at some point to have data, what we can do with it. And so it's a very, very important decision. Also about how does it work, the data with artificial intelligence. There are many ways to do. What is great, it's possible in AI to work locally, to work like on your own machine. It's possible to have a local server, and it's possible to work on the cloud. So there are very many possibilities to implement your product, your service. It really depends about your customer. It's often a discussion with them. Very often, they didn't look into it for a long time and they are not aware of all the changes. So sometimes maybe they're not doing enough in terms of data security, and sometimes they are doing too much. Maybe they are a bit paranoid and they've been like extremely restrictive and their system is very rigid. They maybe don't have to do all of this. Maybe there are other ways to do. Also, the cloud have been changing a lot in the recent years because of RGPD in Europe. You have many new norms, European and local in every country, to ensure that if you're using cloud, you can have some certification that really make it verifiable that your data only transits from one point to another and never go out of the country, for example. So you have many options now that exist today. You don't have to reinvent everything. And it's about finding the right partner that already have this solution. I don't think it's the job of the startup to create a totally new security system. Those already exist. There are standards and new standards coming. So it's just about being aware of them and educating the customer on that.
Thank you for this really interesting insight. And as you mentioned, the job of the startup is more like to identify the right partner who has the data and have the security infrastructure to deal with it and open it to an innovator like you. So thank you for this. And I think also what you just said, it's about this dual use of, technology and data is always kind of a tricky space. On one side, you want to scale commercially, but the other side, you need to respect regulation and security protocol. So my next question is now more like on the market adoption. Say your early adopters and partners right now is the CROSS. What type of clients are you targeted? Maybe ports or marinas or the Coast Guard? What are next in your developments and sales development?
Well, all of this. I mean, the port, we have some meeting plan with the port that also use the VHF to talk, can manage a lot of communication and would like to see it's often a problem. Even if they record their communication, it's more like an archive that they cannot access. And if we can change this in a way that they can see what happened during the day, during the week, during the months, generate reports on the flight, query their information, their data, it's very useful to them. Also, we have meetings with the firemen because the work is very similar to what the cross is doing. So they receive call, they have to quickly identify and make decisions. So it's very interesting to learn from them also and see the differences. So yes, already with this type of customer, there's a lot to learn, lot to do. And those are new markets. Clearly today, like we don't really have direct competitor. I know that some labs are doing experiments, working on the same things, but they are not doing startup after that to market a product. So it's about not only doing the research, but creating the product.
Actually, as you are not like a research project, but more like a commercial one with a startup, what is your business model? It's like a license. How do you create it to make money of that?
Yes, it's simply a license. So there are different way of pricing. You can look at what software do exist today in their industry and what are the prices. So if you are on B2C, mostly everything is free or very cheap. If you are in B2B, it's more expensive. And if you are in a bit with governments, it can be very, very expensive contracts. And also you can also estimate the work. What's the added value? How much work can you process with your technology? If you can you improve the workload by 1%, 2%, 3%? So you can calculate a salary of multiple people and already you can calculate like your added value. So it's a bit of both.
Of course, it's what I see when I coach startups. So knowing the price on the market, what are the trend in the industry, but also what is the value that you add to your customers. So yeah, a mix of that makes sense. From an entrepreneur to another entrepreneur, I'm curious, what have been the main challenges in bringing Viata to the market? And on the contrary, what are your success stories that you have experienced so far?
What is difficult, and it's been difficult for me for a very long time. I've been an entrepreneur for a long time in different fields in IT. It's the team. When you have a startup, you're a small group of people. And if something is wrong already with this initial team, this is not going to work. So it's very difficult to convince people, very smart people often, for them to give up what they're doing. They maybe already have a great career, great opportunities, already maybe something running, a business, and you convince them to leave everything for the promise of success in this new adventure. And very few people can do that, can accept this condition. So you must find people that are very, very competent but also a bit crazy, and hope that together you can fit. It's a fit. It's a good match. So it's very difficult to find the right team. And thankfully, recently I met Colomban that I think you know. He joined the team recently, and he's perfect match for me. Everything is going well so far. So in the end, if you're passionate enough, you can find the right people, the good fit. So yeah, apart from the team, I don't know if it's really difficult. It's no surprise the finance, how you finance such a project. It's a very known problem. So if it's known, you should anticipate it. Our decision from the start was try contest. That's what was one of our strategy. Contests are useful. You get a small prize. It's often not enough, but it's already something, and you get notoriety. You save on marketing. You get networking, and all of this is one way. Also problem, I don't know. I think so far it's the best project I ever did. I mean, I'm surprised every day how smooth it is. I think it's not every day that project kickstarts so well. And of course, I'm a bit impatient. I would like things to go much faster. I'm always aiming to go fast, to release in few months and contract all the time. Okay, it takes time, but I think it's going very well, objectively. So I cannot complain.
Thank you for sharing this. And regarding your success stories, so is Viata already used today by operators such as Crows in France? At what stage are you right now in the development of your startup?
Yes, we're still early. The choice of this particular partner to co-develop the solution, it also implies that things are going to be slow. So we take our time, we meet often, we discuss, we give update, but things, it cannot go faster. It's just how it is, and we know that, we decided. So it will take time before having like the official commercial partnership, or today it's more like a development partnership, but it's worth it because, as I said, we're developing for the hardest condition. We battle test our solution, and when it's ready in that condition, it's easy after to trickle down on the rest of the market. So it's a worthy effort.
I got it. And I think being right with the right partners from the beginning give you the best chance of success. We already talk about the different application when it would be like a commercial solution beyond maritime safety. So for example, logistic, offshore energy, or other industry. I was thinking of offshore wind, even fisheries that could benefit from reliable multilingual communication and transcription. So how do you see the future if you think about, the Viata in the next 5 years? If you have to dream about it, what would be the position of Viata?
I think even without dreaming, I think Viata will develop into many big industries. I think it's useful to most industry, but who is willing to pay enough for us to invest the time and the development for the specifics of the industries? You said many examples. All of those are industry we thought about, and there are possibilities to go in that direction, but it will be about finding the people and match. It will be like this, having people that trust us to fundamentally change the way they operate. It's also the problem. Are they willing to change, and at what speed? So it's a bit the question.
I think we arrive at the end, but just some last question. I'm just curious about like the next step for Viata. I know you just won the Octopus contest. If our listener want to learn more about your actualities or learn more about Viata dynamics, where do they can look at, like LinkedIn, website, or where do they can find information to follow what you are doing right now?
Yes, so I've been ignoring social media for 2 years, but now I promise you we are starting to communicate. So you can find us on LinkedIn, Viata Dynamics, and there will be content posted on the LinkedIn.
Great, thank you. And any final message you'd like to share with people working in maritime innovation or safety, or to attract new talents and younger generation in BlueTech projects?
Well, I think maybe I'm too optimistic, but I think it's the best time right now. There are so many changes rapidly, and you can be the actor of the change. You can be part of that change. Just know a specific industry, know it well, and then from there, just implement, talk about this new technology, and find the opportunities.
Thank you, Edouard, for sharing your journey and the Viata project with us today. It was a real pleasure to have you on the podcast. And of course, thank you to our listener for joining us on BlueTech around the world. If you enjoy this episode, don't forget to subscribe, share it with your network, and stay tuned for more stories on innovations shaping the future of our oceans. So until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and keep innovative for the blue economy. Thank you.
Thank you.